What's up, everybody? Let's learn how to go today. While we check out the latest from Larcenia Roe, I like what they're doing a lot because I think they're really freaking weird. I think they're really weird. I think that Ryan's vocals sound extremely unique. I think that they're doing a lot of stuff that a lot of people aren't doing right now. And I really like talking about Ryan's voice because it always offers me something kind of odd or off the wall to get into. So speaking of which, before we get into it, my name is Mark. I am a full-time vocal coach. I am someone who teaches you how to go safely and efficiently. That's my full-time job. I'm also a metal vocalist of like somewhere around 16 years, 15 years, kind of depends on when I count having actually started screaming. Yeah, I've been a vocalist in a band called Kardashev for a very long time. But here on the channel, I talk about how to do harsh vocalization. I'll tell you what the vocalist is doing or how I would do it if I would do it differently, or if I'm not sure what they're doing, the way that I would approach it if I was trying to construct that sound, because I can do a lot, but I can't do everything. But that's it. That's it, right? My wife just went to pick up our kid from grandma's house, so I've got probably about 25, 30 minutes to do this. So let's do it. Larcenia. Because I have to do this in one take because my kid's going to be home in a little bit. I got to keep all my mistakes in here. So can't start over. Larcenia Roe, lean. Here we go. The unique leader records, it's always so loud. Okay, that's a good place to pause. If this is your first video, I pause all the time. Your first Cardivox Academy video. So the main thing that I'm hearing that I want to talk about, because there are a lot of things we could talk about. There are many, many things. But the main thing I want to talk about is resonance and vocal placement, right? Because it's one thing to say like, okay, here's how to do a false chord. Here's how to do a fry. Here's how to use your epiglottis, all these things. Here's how to use your rhythmoids. But it's another thing to actually do something with it, right? So for example, my typical low or mid scream without any bells or whistles sounds like this, which like, hey, that's kind of cool. But it's the way that we shape the vocal tract. It's the way that we shape our mouth, the top of the throat, the back of the mouth, the pharyngeal space that gives it that extra spice. And what we're hearing here from Ryan is, no surprise, a very large amount of variation in the way that he is allowing his voice to resonate, right? And so there are different things that we can do and things we can talk about. One thing I'm hearing is a very heavy usage of the types of spaces, right? You can tongue up, you can tongue down, right? But there's a lot of this big, boomy resonance. When we're creating this big space in our mouth, or in the back of our throat, the reason it sounds so large, the reason it sounds so deep is because the sound waves are bouncing around quite frequently in there. They're bouncing. And that is going to accentuate the low end of our sound. So if I take this like mid here, right? Right? I'm going to take this and I'm going to slowly curl my tongue up, pucker my lips, and drop my jaw. Right? And so we get these deeper, darker sounds. Right. And I think one thing that I'm interested to hear is this song has a lot of like stop, start, hit, go. He punctuates his melodies very interestingly. But yeah, I think the main thing I'm going to be thinking about moving forward is resonance. Like it's more than resonance placement. Well, I mean, that's what it is, but it's resonance bending. Like he's an air bender, but a resonance bender. Anyways, here we go. Sorry. We gotta hear that again. What the hell? Like who who else is gonna think of that wild of a pattern? Right? That's something I've not heard any other deathcore vocalist or really any other metal vocalist other than like if there's a weird sound, you can just assume Mike Patton did it first. You can just that's just a safe thing to assume. Um Maybe Serge Tankian to a degree, which is an entirely different style of metal vocal that we're talking about. But Ryan does this really cool stuff. And I remember before I saw them live, it was the only time I've ever seen them live so far. I'd definitely see them again if they came through town. But I was wondering if he would do, now I'm going to sound like an absolute dumbass when I do this. Okay. But if you're not willing to sound stupid, you ain't ready to learn metal vocals. That's just a fact. Right. But he like live, he does this like, like stuff. And when I do it, I sound like a squeaky toy. Right? But when he does it, it sounds kind of cool. Like it sounds kind of interesting and he'll just throw it in there. And like in this section we just heard, it kind of like messed up the pattern a little bit, but in a way that sounded kind of neat. I want to hear that one more time. Yeah, like after that point, he just kind of just lets go of like, he's like, what the fuck is a metronome? Right. And he just sort of starts like freestyling, I guess we could say, over it. That's actually a really cool thing you can do. It sounds very narrative. I just think that's really neat. That's kind of all I have to say about that. Like, he has a very neat way of adding these like squeaky, ingressive, which like means like these like sort of sounds that are really cool. I can't even approximate that. Now another thing that he's doing that's really interesting here that we can talk about a little bit more functionally is he's got these really rattly high vocals going on. Right now, there are different ways that we can make tissues rattle, of course. But when we're doing like rattly sounds, they're kind of funky because we have to have a certain amount of engagement with the tissue, not too tight, right? So if I do something with the tissue like really tight, right? Like I'll do a high vocal because he's doing a high vocal, right? Although Ryan and I do our vocals very differently. We have some, I did an interview with him on the channel. We've got some crossover and then we've got some spots where it's like we are in different hemispheres, right? So I'm not saying this is how he does it, but this is how I would create similar sounds, right? So I can do something really tight with rigid tissue, right? And I can activate that strategically so it doesn't hurt, so it doesn't cause my muscles strain. But that's going to give me like this. That's going to give me this really thin TV static sound. Now, what I can also do is I can change the way, and it's kind of hard to describe unless you feel it or until you feel it, but I can change the way that I'm squeezing to where the extrinsic, or I'm sorry, the upper laryngeal funnel muscles. God, see, this is why I often do my videos in a couple takes because I usually got to get my stutters out. The supraglottal tissues above your vocal cords, that's what I'm trying to say, narrow, but I don't press the tissues as close together. And we get this, like when I do it, I get this sort of like choked up, like, but it feels very high up in the back. It's possible that there's a little epiglottal rattle, right? Because it feels in the same place as, although they feel like very different types of vibration, right? But if I take this and I let the soft palate and the tongue touch slightly, so I'm like, oh no, don't choke me. Notice when I'm doing this, I'm not putting a lot of pressure on the vocal folds themselves. Okay, I'm not, there's zero of that at least I can feel. You get like this dirty, you get this like really dirty high vocal that's really cool. And I think that one of the things I really enjoy about how this is a good screenshot for the thumbnail, actually. One of the things I think is cool is how fluid he is with it, right? Because there's a certain amount of like strategic tension that we have to have in the right place, and his ability to move in and out of it is just insane. Let's keep going though. I like that clean layer they have over top. That's pretty cool, especially with how abrasive his harsh vocals are. I mean, like, I feel like I feel and I feel this way because people have said it to me before, but like I feel like sometimes Larcenia Roe in Ryan's vocals are on the heavier, more aggressive, more like abrasive side of even what a lot of deathcore people like. Now, maybe you'll disagree. That's just been my experience talking to people. And so hearing something that, you know, like I feel like Larcenia Roe kind of hits like a shot of Everclear. Not that I've ever taken a shot of Everclear. I actually have not taken a shot of Everclear. We had in college, we had like this thing where somebody soaked watermelon in Everclear, and what a horrible idea that was. That was a rough night for a lot of people, but like, you know, you like maybe a sip of like vodka is a better example, right? But you like, you know, right? But in a good way, if you like vodka. I do, but my drinking days are behind me. And so hearing that clean over like that really sharp, really like biting sound that Larcenia Roe just tends to have, I think is a cool contrast, right? Also, there are some qualities about his voice that kind of, I can't remember his name. This is not good. But kind of remind me of when he's doing those like shouty mids that they're still overall like low on perceivable true chord pitch. They kind of remind me of the first vocalist or the vocalist for Fit for an Autopsy just before Joe Bad joined. I can't remember his name, but it has kind of a similar quality. And I think that one of the things that makes Ryan able to hit these spaces so I'm zooming out of frame here, so reliably, is that he's very snappy with his mouth shapes, right? So when we're doing lows, mids, and highs, there are certain vowel mouth shapes that are more conducive to making them work. For example, and these aren't like rules of law. We can move in and out and around them, in and out of and around them. But generally speaking, if you're wanting to do lows, especially if you're just starting, something like oo, o, those sounds are great for lows. Right? If you're doing mids, honestly, a great place to start is with like either just standard vowels, the way that you would normally say them. I feel like my S's, I feel like my sibilants are hitting so hard. I'm gonna have to work that DS or EQ them out. But like a standard A, 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 O, right? And for highs, we have like these right? And so he has like these muscle memory, this muscle memory ability to go like super snappy, right? His voice it has the vibe of being staccato even when it's legato, which is kind of a weird thing to say, but it's very like punch, even when he's holding out long phrases. It's super cool. Let's keep going. Whoa, that was gross. that sounded like multiples that came across like multiple sounds layered on top of each other. And I feel like this is also a very like Ryan type of thing to do vocally. Now a lot of deathcore vocalists will do like little like blahs and in spots, right? Like a blah or a something like that, right? But Ryan often punches in with like the weirdest sounds. Like the another band that I can think of that does this sort of thing is Another Walker, of course, which may if you're interested in me doing Another Walker album review, let me know. I'm slowly moving into album reviews on this channel. And you have to be strategic. I hate to say it, but you have to be strategic with what you put up, because if the algorithm thinks people don't want to watch it, people ain't gonna watch it. But if you're interested, a couple of people have mentioned me doing Another Walker full album review where I listen to the album in one go, start to finish, and talk about it. If you would like to see that, let me know in the comments below. But anyway, so this sounded like I wish I could have like the stems or something, but it sounded like some sort of clacky tone. I don't know if this was the clacky tone he was doing, but it had like this. No, it wasn't that. I think he was using a different mechanism entirely. But then over that, something more like thin. I don't know. I don't know what he would have layered, because it just comes and goes so fast. But it definitely sounds like 2 or 3 things layered together. And it sounds really cool. And that's a cool thing you can do. Like, you know, sometimes in the metal vocal world, you have people who are like, I never layer my vocals because I don't have to. And it's like, you don't have to, but you could. It's fun. Give it a try. Here's my hot take. Sometimes conviction gets in the way of just having a good fucking time. Layer the damn vocals. Don't layer the vocals. Just have some fun. Explore. Anyways, let's keep going. Called it. Yeah. We'll let it go. Everybody just wait a second. Everybody just wait a second. That was so like thin. I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean tonally. It was almost like somebody took TV static, which is already this like thing, and just like isolated every high frequency they could possibly get, cut out every low one. They could just culling the field of frequency. See, okay, here's the weird thing about that. I'm gonna be upfront with y'all. I don't know. Here's the weird thing about that. So it sounds initially like a really high, tight fry exhale. But then when we hear the we, it has that, and I'm not saying that this is for sure this or this is for sure that, but it has some of that telltale inhale onset. Right? Like I talked about in my Archspire video, I'm not much of an inhale vocalist. I'm not very good at them. I don't teach how to do them. But when people inhale, I'm going to sound like terrible right now. When people inhale their vocals, there's often not always, but there's often a like, Like you hear that like quick like suction, right? That ain't my thing. But he's also like super high. You can hear the sideways pull of the lip. You can hear the showing of the teeth. Lee. I want to hear that one more time. Maybe, but that wasn't it. I'm gonna stop messing with that. So, yeah, what a wild way to end the song, which is no surprise. It's no surprise, right? That was, yeah. It's interesting too, because like, it seems like the guitars were doing a lot of like just like these little random scrapes. That's something that put this here. I have a prediction, okay, and I could be wrong. But I think that these little super fast lightning speed, let's call them interjections or punctuations, are going to get more popular in deathcore in 2026. Either that or they'll disappear entirely. I don't think there's going to be much of a middle ground. And this is not to say that there have never been vocalists who do quick, like, or guitars that do like a quick, like scrape. But the fact that they're just like lightning speed, right? Again, Netherwalker kind of does this stuff because we've all heard the Battle of Tredem, where I'm like, listen, I'm not gonna make it. I'm being silly right now, but just like the fucking just out of nowhere noises. I'm wondering, like, is this gonna be a trend? I'm thinking, yeah, it's gonna be a trend that shows up or disappears entirely. I don't think there's gonna be much of a middle ground. But very cool song. I would love to go more in depth into the vocalization, but if I ain't filming today, there's not going to be it's Friday night, and so if I'm going to get a video up Sunday, it's now or never. And my son's going to be home soon, and not that that's a problem. I just want to hang out with him when he gets here. It's like it's time to play. Got a rough house. Got to eat some snacks. Right? He's been really into the K-pop Demon Hunters theme song, so we gotta have a dance party, or the soundtrack, so we gotta have a dance party. I got stuff to do. I got fun stuff to do. I'm about to start my weekend, right? But overall, very cool sound. So if you listen to, there is one more thing I wanted to talk about. Okay, one more thing. So one more thing I wanted to talk about was his use of airflow on some of his lows. Okay, so sometimes we have these lows that are like, but there were times where he was puffing out a little bit of air around like the sides of the vocal, for lack of a better way of saying it. And that's a sound that I really like. That's the sound that I really like, this. And that's not necessarily anything new, but I just thought it was really well executed in the moments where it was. Like, it really felt, there were these moments where he was doing these like vocals, and it really sort of pushed them down into like a deeper space. And so this is something that I encourage a lot of vocalists who have good control. They don't get tired, but they kind of just have low, mid, high. Think about your scream as more than just grit. Think about it as airflow. Think about it as different ways that you can punctuate it, right? Can you use like your tongue? Airflow. Right? Little offsets. Don't do that. That sounds dumb. But like, play around, right? Play around with stuff. That generally sounds better on a high, like a yeah, right? But anyways, that's kind of all I got. Thank you for watching. Sorry this video was a little bit rushed, because it absolutely was a little bit rushed. But the algorithm, guys, I'm not gonna lie, it's been a stressful December. I'm gonna cut it there. Many thanks, much love. I'm out.